The STEM Society.
Welcome back to the STEM Society. My name is Cole Jackson, and I am your culture critic. I speak on all things hip hop culture, hip hop news, music, you name it. I am going to talk about it on this show. Now, I am brutally honest, and there are times when you may get offended. So here's your warning right now. This is episode 102, and we are live. Thank you guys for joining me for another episode. I hope you guys had a great week. This is the Sunday episode. This week kind of went by really, really fast. I missed out. I live in London, by the way, and I completely missed the Honey Black launch, the Cortez Honey Black launch. I missed it, and I'm so pissed off about it. It was a big event. I wanted to get a pair of those, but I wasn't able to do it. But it was so fire just to see the big Nike box right there in front of tower, like right there in front of Tower Bridge. But it was a huge launch. Now, anybody who knows me knows I'm a sneakerhead. I love getting new sneakers. I love launches, all of that. And I was unable to go, which saddened me so much. But it was so fire. I love I love living in a city where they have sneaker launches and this type of shit happening. Where I used to live, we didn't really get those types of things. So me being around it makes me want to go to it, but I missed it. I missed it because they dropped coordinates and everything, and I missed it. It sucks, but that was like my highlight of the week. That was my highlight. Missing a sneaker launch. Next week is gonna be a content dump. I will be having some new release critiques, and I will be putting out the next episode of Rank the Errors. Rank the Errors is where I take somebody's complete career and I rank what era is best. Now, I did my first episode was the J. Cole one. Thank you guys for supporting that video. If you haven't seen it, go click on it, go find it, and go watch it. There's a link in the description, and you can see what I thought, what era of J. Cole I thought was the best. And I got some pushback on that video, which I love. I love when I get pushback. This week, I'm going to drop the Rank the Errors, and it's going to be Rick Ross. Rick Ross Rank the Errors. I have been wanting to do this for a very long time because a lot of people put Rick Ross up there with some of the best rappers from his era. And I wanted to go through his different eras in his career and see which was the best one. And it's gonna surprise you which one I picked because it surprised me. But please support that video. That's some bonus content. It will be dropping on Patreon first before it comes out on YouTube. If you are a socialite on Patreon, make sure you guys keep a lookout. You'll usually get an alert when it drops. So I usually put that out there a day early before everything else.
Music news.
Ari Lennox is officially out at Dreamville. She's done. She's gone. Back in October, she had a bit of a rant talking about how Dreamville didn't know how to market her correctly, didn't know how to put her out correctly, just didn't know how to handle her as a singer. So this past week, it was quietly announced, which I thought was very interesting, quietly announced that she was gone from Dreamville. She's no longer part of the Dreamville roster. She is exclusively releasing music through Interscope Records, which if you go and look at the Soft Girl era record that she dropped, it does say Interscope. I looked it up and just did my research, and it looks like she's done with Dreamville. When I look at this move, I look at it as probably one of the biggest mistakes she could have made. Hear me out. I think a lot of people have looked at the Dreamville roster and seen how big of a fumble that Dreamville has done with all their artists. Like when you think about their roster, they have one of the best rosters out there in hip hop. The problem is they never really get marketed correctly, or they never release their music on time or in a timely manner. It's kind of like they want to do what TDE is doing, but they just don't know how to do it well. I've said this for a long time now. That roster is way too talented for them to not have enough releases or the type of releases they should be having. Like Jid should be way bigger than what he is currently. And when you think about people like Boz, or when you think about Omen, or when you think about just all of the people that's on the Dreamville roster currently, um, they have completely fumbled every single one of the artists that they've had under that label. Jid was going to overcome no matter what because he's talented and he knows how to make music and he knows how to create albums. His album that he's dropping this year is going to be one of the biggest albums of 2025. But they have completely fumbled that roster. And it's not a surprise that she's doing this and going into her own lane or going through a label. I talked about this when she first did her rant, and I said she can't make it as an independent artist. There's no way she can go independent and do it. And that's not a slight to her. That's a slight to the type of team that she has to be able to market her the correct way. Or that was really a slight to just not really knowing how to handle Ari Lennox. She should be as big as SZA, and that's just a personal opinion because she can sing. Ari Lennox has a voice. Say what you want to about the presentation, but the song making, the voice, everything is there. She just needed to be presented in a better way. Going into the Interscope part of things, which I don't necessarily love because Interscope is going to treat her like every other singer and they're going to chase hits. This is what the industry does, especially when it's a label like Interscope. They're going to chase hits. She's not going to be doing Shea Butter Baby type stuff. I'm sorry. If that's what you think is going to come from her after her leaving Dreamville, you can forget it. I feel like she had a lot more freedom to create the type of music she wanted to create while she was on Dreamville. Going this route just feels wrong because if you thought you were in a bad situation at Dreamville, just wait till Interscope gets a hold of you and just say, well, you got to do this. I don't know if they're going to give her the type of writer she needs to be able to create the type of music that she wants to create. I'm always been an advocate for artists to be able to have the freedom to make what they want to make. And as fucked up as it sounds, I think she was getting that while she was at Dreamville. The only problem with Dreamville is they just didn't know how to market her or put her out there. Or they just didn't understand how to release shit or put her on a release schedule. It's just all of it just feels bad. And I really wish she was in a better situation or just at a better team because when you listen to this Soft Girl Era song, it's just so poppy and I don't feel like that's her lane. And I could be wrong. But personally, when I listen to Ari Lennox, that's not the type of music that I want to hear. If you go back and listen to Shea Butter Baby, that's more her lane. That's more of what I want to hear from Ari Lennox because that album is phenomenal. But the Soft Girl Era stuff, which is really just sounding like a cut, paste, and repeat situation with every other, you could give that song to somebody else in R&B and they could do it and it's gonna do the same thing. I don't know where it's ranking right now on the charts, and I don't know if this is really actually feeding into her creativity, but I just feel like Ari Lennox should have a different situation than just going straight through Interscope. I don't think her team's good enough to be able to put her past all of this bullshit to where she can actually be free as an artist. I'm always about the artist first, the creativity first, and the money comes later on. Which I had somebody on Twitter tell me that is she deserves to get this bag. She deserves to get this money. Here's the problem. Going through Interscope doesn't necessarily mean she's gonna get a bag like that. That doesn't mean she's gonna get paid. That doesn't mean they're gonna book her correctly for shows. That just means that they're going to put her in a room with a lot of writers who don't understand who she is either. She's gonna come out with an album that's gonna sound very plastic and very mainstream and very just out of character for her. I love Ari Lennox. I think that she is a phenomenal talent. I think that she is somebody who deserves to get more attention, more album sales, be put on a better tour than what she was with that Rod Wave shit. She deserves to be on a better tour than what she was given before. I know Dreamville wasn't feeding the need that she was looking for, but I don't think Interscope is going to feed that need also. I feel like she's just gonna be in a situation where she's gonna be stuck again, and we're gonna see you on Instagram again, being pissed off. You're gonna start going off on why these people don't know how to market you. It's just gonna repeat the cycle. Artists need to realize that the grass ain't always greener on the other side. I think if she could have mediated something or figured something out with Dreamville, maybe she could have continue to be able to make the kind of music she wanted to make and get a better release schedule. And I'm not saying that she hadn't done that because I don't know what her team has been doing. I haven't been able to reach out to anybody to find out. But in my opinion, they're going to feed her a lot of chart chasing hits that she's not going to want to perform. I want to see what happens with this deal with Interscope. I want to see if she's going to get put on a tour. I want to see if she's going to drop an album this year. If she does, where is it going to go? How is she going to sound? There's a lot of different questions that I need answers to, and hopefully later on in the year we'll find out. So there's been some updates on the Shannon Sharpe situation that I wanted to point out or give my take on. Like, there has been some new information that came out. When I first talked about the story last episode, it really wasn't a lot of stuff out there. It was still pretty fresh. So after reading some articles and seeing some other things, let's get into what's going on now, starting with the settlement. So it looks like Shannon Sharpe's lawyer put out there that they were trying to give Gabriella Zuniga a $10 million settlement, or tens of millions of dollars in this settlement and during mediation. Shannon Sharpe made a big mistake by putting out those text messages. I don't know who he has in his corner as legal counsel, but that was really stupid. Now, she didn't drop those text messages. He did, and the stuff that was in there was nasty work. People are still talking about that stuff. And it looks like it's even freakier than that, because we see that it's some BDSM stuff that was going on. It is a lot of nasty shit. And a lot of people are saying, why would he try to settle out of court if he didn't do anything wrong or if it wasn't a sexual assault? I mean, when you look at it from a standpoint of him being who he is and him making more money than he's ever made before, I can see why he said, let me settle this so I can get to a bigger bag. That's how I'm looking at it. Mind you, this whole thing dropped because it was announced that he was on his way to making over $100 million in a new contract. And as shitty as this might sound, I understand why he offered her a settlement. He was like, let me give her the small bag now so I can make the big bag later on. It's just money to pay her to go away. And as nasty as that sounds, it's the truth. That's what people do. Rich people in his situation, they always say, hey, let me see what I can do to pay to make this go away. Because one, he was a guy in his 50s messing around with a woman in her early 20s, late teens. They're saying that she was like 19 when he talked to her, which is something completely different altogether. But he was trying to make this go away. And I think the settlement situation was just, I need to make this, erase this. And I think he's seeing patterns from other people where it's just like, if I don't make this go away, more is going to come out, which more has came out so far. The phone call situation is another thing. So right now they have phone calls that's been recorded by Ms. Zuniga talking about him choking her, and I'm gonna be honest with you guys, it don't sound good. Even if it is doctored, which those are things that a lot of people in the media are saying. These are doctored tapes. I'm gonna be real with y'all. I don't think it was a cut and paste job. I really think he said that shit to that girl. It just, right now we're getting to a point where a lot of things are flying out, and you know the old saying, when there's smoke, there's fire. I truly believe that he had some kind of relationship with this woman. And I do believe that it was on some freaky, nasty, beat my ass type stuff. Even the race play stuff is the race play stuff is there as well. Do I find it far-fetched that he said these types of things to her? Not really. He was getting his nasty bag on with that girl. He was really getting his nasty bag. And as much as we don't want to say it, there's people out here who like that kind of shit. And he's one of those people, which again goes back to me talking about the settlement. He didn't want his freak shit to be out there all over the media. And that's exactly where we are right now. His freak shit is all over the place, which is most definitely taken away from the value of who he is. This shit dropped, and I'm pretty sure that the value of who he is and what he brings to the table has diminished sevenfold. This man ain't finna be able to get no $100 million bag. And the fact of the matter is, he was climbing. He was climbing when all this stuff was going on. And now you losing all of that over a woman that you clearly had some type of emotional ties to. If you're gonna do the freak shit, make it sign an NDA, bro. Because now you're losing everything because you took that NDA away from her and you took that situation away from her, and you're getting manipulated and kind of schooled by a 22-year-old. And you've been in the game for a minute. Let's be honest. You've been in the NFL, you've been out here doing whatever you've been doing for the last 30 years. And now you're getting schooled by a 22-year-old who's probably gonna take away the biggest bag you've ever seen in your life because you wanted to be freak nasty and you didn't want to cover your tracks. Sorry, bro. It boggles my mind how all of these people who make it to this certain status don't know how to do shit right. And I hate to say it that way because it sounds crazy, but if you want to be into this type of shit, you're gonna have to cover your tracks, especially if we were working for a company like Disney and ESPN. Which takes me into the biggest move I've ever seen in my life. The statement that he dropped about stepping away from ESPN. It says, "My statement is found here, and this is the truth. The relationship in question was 100% consensual. At the juncture, I am electing to step aside temporarily from my ESPN duties. I will be devoting this time to my family and responding and dealing with these false and disruptive allegations set against me. I plan to return to ESPN at the start of the NFL preseason. I sincerely appreciate the overwhelming and ongoing support I have received from my family, fans, friends, and colleagues, Shannon Sharpe." So he put this statement out saying he's stepping away from ESPN and he won't be back till preseason. I'm gonna do you one better. You are fired. You done. There's no way he's going to be able to go through two of these sexual situations and be able to go back to ESPN. That just ain't happening. I don't give a damn if Stephen A is your homeboy or not. He ain't got that much pull. Shannon Sharpe is not coming back. As much as y'all want to root for the guy, as much as you want to say, oh man, he made a mistake, so on and so forth, he's done at ESPN. He ain't coming back. And that's not me sitting up here reaching. Too much of this man's sex life has been in the headlines for the last year or so. People still bring up the Michelle shit. And I think that's a bit of an embarrassing moment for ESPN and for Disney. They don't want to deal with that shit. They're a family company. They're a company that don't want to have that kind of mess lingering over everything else that goes on with that network. So it just makes sense for me for them to go ahead and fire him. And I don't want and let me be completely honest with y'all. I don't want the man to lose his job. I don't want nobody to lose their job when it comes to just being out here trying to make it. I I know how it feels when you're out here trying to make it and shit just ain't going right for you. But I also understand that he brought this shit on himself. You're moving so sloppy and terrible and stupid. You are not one of these. You're not Leonardo DiCaprio. You're not is it Bill Belichick? Not those dudes. Bill Belichick and Leonardo DiCaprio can do what they want to do because they're white men and they're in prominent positions. You are not them, and you don't have that kind of pull, and you don't really have that kind of cachet when it comes to this kind of stuff. People don't talk about them because, well, they're Bill Belichick and Leonardo DiCaprio. You, on the other hand, cannot move the way they move because you're black. Call a spade a spade. You're a black man in a media position that they don't allow mistakes like this. I don't know what happens after this because I know he's trying to take this to trial. I know this is a situation where he wants to clear his name. And I know he brought up the whole situation with Busby and Jay-Z and how discredited Tony Busby is because he's a amourless chasing lawyer. But at the end of the day, you're just showing people how much of a freak you are, how much you lusting after these OnlyFans girls who, no disrespect, but you could have found something better than what you're losing your empire on now. It's just, all of it is just nasty work. And I think sometimes it's easy for us to try to sympathize with these people when at the end of the day, he brought this on himself. He did. When you move wrong, when you move in the way that he's moving, it ain't nobody's fault but his. That's just how it goes. That's life. Believe me. I've lived long enough to see this happen to several different people. Um, I'm not gonna sit up here and try to dogpile on the man though, because I know he's already getting it from everywhere else. But as far as how this case is gonna go, I completely think that he's gonna figure out how to settle it out of court. We've just seen another victim come forward. I haven't read enough information to give my take on that yet, but it don't look good. I know he's not going to have his ESPN job anymore. I think Nightcap and Club Shay Shay are the only two entities that he owns that's still going to make money for him, and he's still working through it. He's still doing Nightcap. He did Nightcap on here recently after the draft, and I don't know when the next Club Shay Shay is going to come out, but right now we're looking at a situation where he can work off the two things that he owns. But as far as like those big bags that he was about to get, that shit done. He's finished. That's donezo, my nigga. You killed that dream, and you were supposed to get over $100 million, or so they say. Who knows? This is about to be the biggest fall I've seen anybody go through, and I hate to see it, and I hate that it's him because he worked so hard to get here. But we'll see how this turns out later on. With that being said, that's all I got for y'all this week. I hope you guys enjoyed the content. If you're enjoying this content that I'm giving y'all, please subscribe to the channel. Make sure you guys get notifications. Make sure you're watching old videos or other videos, and comments. Give me some comments, man. Let me know what you think about what I'm giving y'all. Give me suggestions on things I should talk about as far as music is concerned. Just interact. Let's have interaction. Let's have conversation. I thank you guys for joining me for another episode, and I'll catch you next week. Peace out.
Thank you for joining the STEM Society.